Hello, so I noticed that a few people haven't done this one or they were struggling with it. So I'll go over this and hopefully you can have a go yourself when numbers are different. So what you need to remember about volume of prisms is that V is equal to the area of the front face times the length or the height. So we'll say the length, but you can also say the height. So area of the front face. Now when I mean area of the front face, I mean this is the front face. This is a front face. This is a front face. And this is the front face. Now the reason why it's a prism, if you remember, is because if you were to cut it with a knife all the way down, it will remain the same front face all the way through. So that applies to all prisms. Now the reason why the second one is called a cylinder and not a prism is because it's got no corners. It's just got one edge, so they call that just a cylinder and not a prism. So let's begin. I've identified all my front faces. Now I need to find the area of each front face and then times it by the length. So the length of this one is 6. Then the length of this one is 5.7. The length of this one is going to be the same as up here, 4.7. And then the length of this one is going to be 7. So using all that information, I can find the volume. So the front face of the first one is a triangle, and it's got a base of 6 and a height of 7. So the first shape, you work out the area separate. So area is equal to base times height divided by 2. So that's going to be equal to 42 divided by 2, which is 21. And then write my formula for the volume. Volume is equal to the area, which I've just found, times the length, which is 6. So that's going to give me my volume, which is going to be 126. And the units are already given to you on the Mymaths, but it's centimetres cubed. So on to number 2. It's the volume of a cylinder. So I need to work out the area, and it's a circle, so we should all know that the area of a circle is pi r squared. So the area is equal to pi times, now 2.5 is the diameter, so to get the radius you need to divide the diameter by 2. So there's a couple of things you need to remember that. So it's 1.25 squared. And then you just take your calculator. You can either use the pi button on your calculator or 3.14. So I always just use my pi button times 1.25 squared. So that gives me 4.908. Now I'm not finished yet. I now need to find the volume. So volume is equal to the area of the front face, which is 4.908, multiplied by the length, which is 7. And that gives me 34.36. However, it wants it to 1 decimal place, so you need to be careful with that. It wants it to 1 decimal place. So I've got to round that to 1 decimal place, which is going to be 34. And the 6 makes the 3 become a 4 also. So that's 1 decimal place. On to number 3. This one is a parallelogram, or we could say it's a kite. I think we're meant to say that it's a kite. So the formula for a kite is diagonal times diagonal. So when I mean diagonal, this is a diagonal and this is a diagonal. So diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. That's going to give you the area of a kite. So it's going to be 3.3 times 8.5 divided by 2. And that gives us 14.025, and that's the area of the front face, the yellow bit. So now to find the volume, I take the area of the front face and I times it by the length, which is 5.7, and that gives me an answer of 79.9 to 1 decimal place. Now, I don't expect you to know this formula, but you can get it from just going to Google. So if you just went to Google and you type in area of kite, which is one we've not covered, you'll see that Google will give you it. So they, instead of them saying it's diagonal 1 and diagonal 2, they label it here as diagonal as P. You see it, horizontal and vertical. So diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. And on to the last one. It's a trapezium. So the formula for trapezium, area of the front face of the trapezium is equal to A plus B. So we've talked about this loads of times. A is 4.6 plus B is 6.9 divided by 2 times by the height, which in this case is 3.9. So that's going to give me the area of the front face. So I'm going to pop that into my calculator. So times by the height divided by 2, and that gives us 22.43, and that's centimeters squared. And then I want my volume, so the volume of the prism is the area of the front face, which is what we just calculated, times by the length, which is here, 4.7. And that gives us 105.4 to 1 decimal place. You got to be very careful how you read your numbers off the calculator. So I'm rounding that. The actual answer is 105.398. So you got to know how to round in order to get full marks for the first section. Right, on to question 2, which is where a lot of you are losing marks and stopping you getting the green face. So it says a new building is designed as a compound shape. So compound means that it's two shapes joined together, which you can see it's a circle and a square, and it's related to this building. So it's showing you a bird's eye view looking down on the building. You can see it. You got a square with lengths 28, and then you've got a circle with a radius of 14. So we've got to work out the area of the roof, which is the front face, and then we got to times it by the height, which is 42. Okay, so how do we find the area? Well, first of all, we got to find the area of the square. And if you think about this, what you've got is a square. You've got a full square, which is easy to find, plus you've got 3/4 of a circle. So you could do it too. You could find the whole circle and take away a quarter, or you could just do 3/4 times the area of the whole circle. So if I write that, the area of the square is equal to 28 times 28. So that's nice and easy, because a square means squared, and that gives us 784. So that gives me the area of the square. Now for the circle, area of the circle, well, if I know that that's 3/4, well, I'm just going to do 3/4 times the area of the full circle. So 3/4 times pi times the radius 14 squared. So 3/4 times pi times 14 squared. And that gives us 461.814. So to find the total area of the front face, I just have to add these two numbers together. So 784 plus 461.814. And that gives me 1245.8. Now it wants my answer to the nearest meter cube, so I don't need decimals, but I'll worry about that at the end when I'm doing my rounding. So remember your main formula, volume is equal to the area of the front face times, in this case, the height. So we know that the area of the front face is that. We know that the height is 42. So that gives me 52324 to the nearest meter cubed. So no decimals needed. But you see that I left, if I didn't put the 0.8 in there, I might not have got the most accurate answer. It might have been off by a few meter cubes, which is actually a big degree of accuracy if you were to talk about the whole volume, meters cubed. So losing out in 10 meters cubed is quite a lot of space. So that's why I left the decimal in here. So don't round until the end. I could have even put 814. So let's see what would happen. I think using 814. Yeah, my calculator used all the values, so that is the most accurate answer. So that is the answer to this one here. So the difficult thing for students is spotting what the question's actually asking and realizing it's a compound of a square and a circle, but you don't want the full circle, you just want 3/4 of the circle. And then on to the last question, which is a commercial public greenhouse is constructed in the shape of a prism. So we've got to work out the area of this front face first, and then we've got to multiply it by 19 because that's going to be the length of it. So how are we going to find the area of the front face? And it's given us lots of little lengths to try and confuse us. You can see that here is 0.7, 0.7, this length's 2.2, 2.2, 1.1 here, 2.2 here, and 0.7 here. So all these complex looking ways of giving us a measurement just gives us the length of these lines. So I need to work out the whole area, and I can see that if I was to put a line down the middle, this half on the left is the same as this on the right. So I don't need to do the work twice. I only need to find what one side is. So I'll find out what this side is, and then I'll just times it by 2. So what have I got? I've got a square. So just break it up. Or is it a rectangle? No, it's a square of 2.2. So that's that one. I'm going to call that number 1. Then I've got a rectangle, which I'm going to call number 2. And that's 1.1 and 2.2. And then, let me just put that over here so it's not distracting. Then I've also got a little rectangle, which I'm going to call number 3. And that is 0.7 and 1.1. And then I've got 2 triangles. I've got the longest looking one. Sometimes it's hard on the iPad pen. Okay. And that's 0.7, and the height of that is 2.2. So I'm going to call that 4, number 4. And then I've got a horizontal looking one like this, which is 2.2 and 0.7. So actually these are the same but just rotated. So I can see that these triangles are the same but just rotated. So they should give me the same answer. But we'll do the calculations anyway. Right, first one's a square. So the area of this is 2.2 squared. This is a rectangle, so the area of this is going to be 1.1 times 2.2. So that's the area of 1, that's the area of 2. The area of 3 is another rectangle, 0.7 times 1. The area of 4, which is here, is a triangle, so it's 2.2 times 0.7 divided by 2. And also number 5 is actually the area for number 5 as well, because it's the same measurements. So let's work them out then. 2.2 squared is going to be 4.84, so the area of 1 is 4.84. Then area of 2 is 1.1 times 2.2, which is 2.42. Area of 2 is 2.42. Then the area of 3, well, that's easy because you're just timesing by 1, so it just gives you the same answer, 0.7. And then last but not least, I've got 2 of these, which is 2.2 times 0.7 divided by 2. So 0.77 and 0.77, because there's 2 of them which are the same. Right, next thing I need to do is add all these together. So I'm going to have to add this, 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 and this. And that will give me the area of just half of it, and then times it by 2. Why will I times it by 2? Because I need to show the other side as well. So the area is equal to 4.84 plus 2.42 plus 0.7 plus 0.77 plus 0.77. So add it all together, 4.84 plus 2.42 plus 0.7 plus 0.77 plus 0.77, which gives me 9.5. So 9.5 is the yellow shaded area, but I want to work out the whole area. So if I highlight in orange the whole, it's going to be all of this. Now the left hand side is equal to right hand side, so I just need to times this by 2. So area total is equal to 9.5 times 2, which is going to be 19 meters squared. So last thing to do, that's the hard bit. The easy bit's find the volume. Volume is equal to the area of the front face times by the length, which is also 19, funnily enough. 19 times 19 gives me 361 meters cubed to the nearest meter, but there was no decimals anyway, so that would be the final answer that you put into here. Okay everyone, I hope that helps you when you try to do this question. I'm sure the numbers will be slightly different, but the method applied should be the same. So I look forward to seeing everyone's attempt, and don't forget to take photos of your working. Take photos of your working and put them into the Myimaths folder on your class notebook.